Good morning, everybody. Well, we're going to start this day out today. It's kind of been a different multifunctional kind of day for me. So I just made some apple fritters, and now I'm going to sit down and we're going to paint some more fruit, actually. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out. I hope you're having a good day, wherever you are. And we're going to start out here as I'm going to do an apple. I'm going to add some water to this. My voice is a little gruff this morning, but I think we'll all be able to manage. So I'm going to get some orange and I'm going to get some red. Whoop, a little too much red. And some orange. So I want kind of a mixture of the two going on, kind of a reddish orange, but it's a kind of a pale mixture. So I'm just going to kind of, I'm using a round brush here. And it's a, got a tip on it. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of put a real light wash, I think, on the apple first. And I want to leave a space right there. And that's where I was talking about in other videos, where you think ahead as to where, you're going to want your light source. So I want to have that light source right there. And in different areas here of this apple, it's going to be a little darker, lighter, depending on, where your light source and your shades are. So what I got going on here, and I'm just going to, with just a damp brush, I'm going to leave that nice little, I meant to leave. I got that space, but I wanted to leave a little white area around here, which is fine. I can always, go back in after, which I've also talked about on other ones, where if you should forget to leave your white space, you can always go back in with some sort of, I wished I wouldn't turn my palette around like that, because then I've done that lately. I've got my palette set up, and then I go to do it, and I've cleaned it or whatever the heck I did with it, and forgot to turn it back around. So I go to get the color that I want, and it turns out a different color because my palette's turned around. No harm, no foul. We can absolutely deal with it. I'm just adding in some greens here, and a little brown up here at the top where the stem and all that is. And then it's a little lighter kind of at the top there. And then we're going to bring some kind of like this. And we need to come back down here to the bottom area where it would be darker here, some shaded, and this is my shade side, the left. That's what I'm depicting, is that my shade side is on the left. So that's how that is. A little more green here. Some green. I'm going to work it in with the water and the paints. Okay, so get a little more red right around in here, but an apple isn't just red. We know that. So I want the orange to also kind of show through. So we got it like that. And I wet, if you didn't see it, I wet the apple, the page first, the paper. I wet it first, so. And there's a little bit of yellow sort of in there. Kind of different areas as well. So we're going to try try to put that in there with a little bit more of the green in different places. And then you just, what you do is you keep going until you get to the place where you feel as though you like what you have. And then here I am not wetting it. I am painting on the dry paper, and I want this, of course this is supposed to depict a slice. So what I want is a little orange, a little yellow for the underneath part, probably a little bit of the brown because it's underneath, so it's going to be a little shady, a little darker, you know. And then we just, we just have some little bits of colors on our brush, and very, very, with very little of anything. Put it in, take it out, basically. Put some color in and take it out because we want to depict this as the skin of the apple. So, and then right underneath here, add a little bit of this color in here. Well, we are finally having a nice sunny day here, folks. Not all that warm, but sunny. We're getting there. Okay, so we want this piece here needs to have this. I don't want very much color in there. Want that piece to be like that. And I'm going to dip into my white a little bit and come back in here because I kind of lost it. And it's okay to do that. If you have some whites on your, you don't think that you've, accomplished your highlight very well, just go in and add it. And then we will continue on here with the leaf, which is a fairly light, bright green. And I don't have any, I don't want the water on my paper, although you can see it because it fell off my brush. But as far as watering the paper first, I did not do that for the leaf. I'm going to pull some of this green back down in here. Get a little darker green right in here. I enjoy doing the fruit, it's fun. And then we had this little area of white around here that kind of got lost, so I'm going into my watercolor white. I do have acrylic white too on my palette, but I think that will work just fine. All right, and then we're going to wash off our brush. And then the next one we're going to do is the orange. Actually, now that this is drying, I'm going to come back in here with a little bit more of the red. I need to have a little more red going on here in certain places. An apple is mostly red, but I mean it has the other colors as well, and we want to depict, I'm trying to depict as natural as the apple would look. That's better, I like that. All right, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to wet the paper a little. You don't want to have, water just dripping down the whole page because I'm doing, something, it's localized. It's not like I'm doing a whole painting here with wet on wet. So I want to definitely want it to stay where I put it. Add a little more. There we go, a little more of the dark there. Okay, so I'm going to wash off my brush because what I need here is quite a bit of the orange. So I'm going to we're going to first just put a keeping in mind where I want my light source, where my, my heaviest spot of light is going to be. It's going to be right there because it's right here. So it's going to on the other one. So we want to, the light source is basically coming from the right-hand side. And as you can see, without too much water on the brush and too much water on the paper, we get some of this. We managed to keep everything pretty much, pretty localized, right where I wanted it. So that worked out well. Now I'm just going to add some darker spots where, it would need to, it's next, the orange slice is casting a shadow there. So we need to have some of the, darker area there. Right next to the slice, we want to have the darker. And again, I am using the round. I didn't change from the round brush. Pull some of that out up here because what I want to do is get some yellow. And right up here, we're going to stick in a little bit of yellow. There we go. It's fun doing fruit. I don't know why. It just is. No special reason, I guess. It's just kind of fun. And then I'm going to add a little more darker there near the, and actually a little bit of reddish is in there as well. As we know, all the skins of fruits and vegetables and things, they're all, it seems like everything that was created has multiple, colors in it. It's just, it's incredible, incredibly amazing. It really is, when you really think about it. And everything opened up to me when I started painting. It was like, oh my gosh, I never realized that things that was created have so many colors. I don't think, to be truthful, I don't think anything just has one color to it. I don't think there's anything. I really don't. Not from what I've experienced trying to paint and looking at things closer and all that. I don't think so. Flowers, everything. It's amazing. Just amazing. That's another thing I can say is when you do begin to paint, you will notice everything so much more. Everything will just kind of jump out at you. It really will. And it's awesome. It's an awesome thing. It really is. You'll see when you get doing it. Trees, everything will just kind of pop right out at you. All right, now, let's see. So we want we're going to have a little bit lighter for this skin here. And because I'm not, let's see here, I need to get some more orange. Because I'm not doing wet on here, it's not, and my drawing is dry. It's on dry paper. So nothing is bleeding into itself. Even this, I gotta get this a little darker. Even this one here behind it, where this one I've done first. We need to make this a little darker here in areas so that this one in the front will stand out. So we need to add, that shadowy and lighten up this side. So we're going to take a little bit out over here on this side, like that. And just don't forget that we are just depicting. We're not. No, this isn't. As I always try to remind everybody, we're not painting a photograph. We're doing a painting, which is basically a depiction of the photograph or a picture or whatever, you know, whatever it is you're using. So always just keep that in mind, because I say that because if you don't, you'll always be striving to, you know, make something that, you know, it'll become stressful, which it doesn't have to. So just, that's why I always just kind of make sure I add that in to my descriptions and everything, and when I'm talking, because it really does matter. Because I mean, you'll struggle and struggle and struggle to get something to look perfect, and that's not what, you know, what happens when you paint. We're just doing a depiction. So that it really is important. So I'm going to very faintly around the edges here put this, and then I'm going to come back in and kind of go like this towards the center, and then we want yellow. We want yellow as well towards the center, and it was too hard for me to make these little you know, keep these little tiny things of white here, so we're going to go back into my white. I have acrylic white, I have and I have watercolor white, and I actually also have some Chinese white somewhere. So that for these types of things, you know, just go back in, depict my white little lines with that white. Works just fine. No harm, no foul. There is no rhyme, no reason that you can't do that. No law. So no stress involved whatsoever when you paint. You have to eliminate stress. The whole point of painting, really, besides just loving it, is you know, to not have that stress. That's takes away everything that's wonderful about painting when we stress about things like that. I'm certainly not going to do it. I always say to people, do what you want, but I'm not going to stress over it. And neither should you, really. I like to give little tips and things, because when you're first learning, it's hard when you first learn. When you're trying to first learn watercolors, it really is quite difficult. So the less, you know, stress you can add to what, you know, what there is to have to learn. I'm just adding in some greens here and there, because they always, fruits and vegetables and flowers and everything else always has some sort of green somewhere. And we go back in with a damp brush here, move these colors around a little bit. Red, and didn't come out too bad. Not too bad at all. Whoops, I guess I had some green on a little too much green. I wanted to get a little more orangey going on this one in certain places. There we go. Okay, there we go. That's more of what I was looking for. And then with a little water on my brush, this is dry right here for the most part. I don't really have to worry about, and even if it wasn't, and some of this green that I'm going to do with this leaf fell in there, great. I think it's awesome, because you know, that just, to me, that just adds, it really does. It adds to whatever I'm painting. So I never worry about that unless I'm specifically wanting something to stay a specific color, and I absolutely do not want anything to bleed. Well, then I'm going to be more careful, of course, and I'm going to make sure what's next to what I'm painting is definitely dry, just totally dry. But this is not anything that I worry if it bleeds. It would just, to me, make it look better. So, and everyone has their preference on that sort of thing. You do what you want in your painting. It's your painting. Make it look like what you want it to look like. We'll put a little bit of and it also depends. Do you want it to look totally realistic? Are you not caring if it looks totally realistic? You know, that all matters. I kind of go like mostly realistic, but I go in between because I might add in something that, like say I'm going to grab some red right here and I'm going to come right into this green, and just because I want that blend, I'm putting it there. And you can do that. That's all preference. Whatever you see, whatever you create, right? So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. There will be people that will, you know, unfortunately, you know, like anything else, there's going to be people that will encourage you and people that will, you know, sort of jump on different things you do or don't do. Just don't go there. You know, they see what they see, you see what you see. End of story. That's how that works. End of story. Just thank them for their opinion of whatever, and that's that. Well, so we have 3 pieces of fruit. Oh, okay. And then, I guess I made 2 apples, I don't know what I did. Oh no, grapefruit, that's what the other one was a grapefruit. I was gonna say, what the hell I did? Okay, so now I need to wet this one. I cleaned off my brush. Unless, you know, if I don't, I'm gonna carry the colors from what I just did if I don't wash it real well. And it wouldn't matter if, you know, like say I was doing green and this was going to be green. But the very first thing I want to do is yellow, so that would have mattered, right? I'm going to add the whites back in there. There we go. And also that I needed more white in the center. There we go. Watercolor will dry very light, so you may have to go back, you know, a few times. Like I'm going back here and adding where I didn't get enough of it in the first place. No harm, no foul. It just doesn't matter. It's fine. It works absolutely fine. I want to encourage people, and I want you to not get stuck on all the little things that can come into, you know, when you're learning something. And hey, you may come up with something that no one else has ever even, it doesn't even know. It's just something brand new that works. That, I mean, like I tend to, I've had a lot of people ask me, how do you get the blends? How'd you get that blend or this blend? And the truth of the matter is, I just keep leaving everything that I've been blending on my palette. I just leave it there. And then I go back and I see something that's like, oh, you know, because, see, I can show you, if, you know, I don't change. I don't have too many blends right now, but a lot of times I have a lot. And what I do is I just, I leave all those colors on there, and then I just use what I see. If I think that's going to look good, I'm like, oh, that would, you know, like for shadows especially, things like that, then I can use them that way. Now I'm going to do a little white with my yellow. I need some really light yellow here. This is a grapefruit. And as you can see, be so proud of me, and I have in each one, except that those just got dulled, so I added, but I remembered in each one to leave my my white space. It took me months, and I'm not kidding you, months to get used to the fact to remember to, I mean, I would paint, I'd be going along, and I'd be doing a great job in my painting. And then all of a sudden I'd realize, oh, shoot, I didn't leave the white spot. So, you know, bummed out and all that. And so, I mean, you know, everything takes time. It's all a matter of learning it, and it's all a matter of taking the time it takes to get. So I'd, you know, make some notes, nothing wrong with that. Put notes by it, but mostly I just kept trying to remember, because I didn't want to do notes. I didn't want to have all these notes. I wanted to remember. So, you know, hence I made myself remember, and then all of a sudden I realized I started remembering to put the highlight, to leave the white space for the highlight. And once that happens, you just will. From that point on, it will just happen. So don't stress too much about it at all, and give yourself that time it takes to learn everything, okay? Let's see here. Where am I going here with this? Talking and... Okay, so now I need to come over to this side, put the yellow in for the slice. Our slice of yummy grapefruit. It's okay if you go out of the lines like I just did. Just get some water, take the paint off your brush, dry it, and come back and pick it up. No big deal at all. All right, and then we're going to take, it's going to be a little more shadow and darker yellow, like some orangey and red in it, because it's the back side, right? It's kind of laying on its side here, so there's going to be some shadows. We'll make this, oops, and I went right over my area that I was, yep, see what happens when you yap and talk? But that's okay, because I'm going to just, once again, it's okay anyway, but I'm going to just do this, go into my white, and, you know, actually, you know what I'm going to do? Okay, I know you're not in my mind, so you don't know what I'm thinking, so I'm just going to leave it as it is, because it's actually fine, and I'll show you what I'm going to do in a minute. I was thinking I forgot my white space, but I really didn't. I need to come in here. And actually the inside is a pink, so we want a real light, well, it's kind of pinky orangey, you know, and all that. So these mixes that I have are working perfect for this. That color came out perfect for the grapefruit, inside the grapefruit. That's really good, very good. That insides of the grapefruit. And I have going to go right around here where it got filled in for the to do the white around it like this. I managed it up here, but then I kind of filled it in down below, which doesn't really matter really. And then just grab the whites for the center, add that in there. Go back to that color that worked so good for the center, because some areas are a little darker than others. It's kind of like the areas right at the top part are darker than the going towards the center. So we're going to do it like this and take it off. Come in with just the damp brush. Move it around so you don't see what they call hard lines. It's more softened. Some people just like the hard lines, and that's entirely, once again, up to you. In other words, if you like the hard lines, you leave them there. That's your preference. There, just adding that white. I might just dab that in there. And the only thing we have left to do, which is some nice bright leaves, are the leaves. And I'm going to do it with no water on the paper and the stem, actually. I'm going to go around the stem with this pointed tipped round brush. And actually going to lighten it up a little with a little water and put the stem in there. It's kind of a greeny, yellowy kind of color. Kind of like a light green, but I went and drew it within the leaf, so now I gotta, I've gotta, there we go, find a way to make it stand out there. And I wanted to add some green here, not too much, but some here and there, and you see how you just move it around. If you press your brush down hard, you can sometimes pull out some of the paint, to get it lighter in that spot or whatever. A little more yellowy there. And then we'll just get this leaf going. It's nice to have a nice tip. Now I'm using a fairly small one here, but if I wanted to do these leaves with a really big brush or a fairly big brush, say this size, because this has such an awesome tip, I love these brushes, I can go right into that color, get that on my brush. I don't want too much water because these hold a lot of water and a lot of paint. And you see, I can still get a nice point using this awesome brush, even though it's as big as it is, simply because it has such an awesome tip. You see that? I can really just blend that all in. Come down to the tip there. I can take stuff out with it. So you can use whatever size brush and whatever kind of brush you want when you do your... I'm going to move that color a little so I get a better tip. And then I think I'm going to, with a very little bit on my brush and a little yellow, I'm going to make a very light leaf here. Very light green, except for right here where it's meeting the other two leaves, which would cast a bit of a little shadow, onto it. So we got to kind of depict that. And to look real quick again, see, we need a little bit of darker down here at the bottom and where it meets the... Now see, I'm just using all the blends on my palette right now. Good example, good time to explain that. I've got all these colors and I need shadow right there in those areas. So that worked really nice to put in that shadow. And that, my folks and my friends, is where I'm going to leave it, because I don't want my videos to be too long. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you try it for yourself. Don't forget, when you're finished, to always wash your brushes off really well and then shape them again so that they always stay, that you continue to always have that nice tip, whether it's a small one, a big one, a flat one, a round one. Always make sure you get all that paint out, water out, and form the tips, form the brush. And Check out my other tutorials, friends. There's a lot of helpful things in there. That's what my channel's all about, is helping, encouraging, showing you helpful tips and giving you helpful information and showing you different techniques and so forth and so on. I think you'll enjoy it, and I think you'll get some help out of it. I also have some tutorials that are just talking to you about starting painting and encouraging word to continue painting. So have an awesome rest of your day, folks, and bye for now.